Hey everybody, it is cold out, and but I wanted to do a video. I have a bunch of questions. I have a pad with a bunch of questions that some of my subscribers and others have asked, and I just wanted to go through a few of them and let you know where I'm at and everything. So stay tuned. Hey everybody, this is Rick, also known as Duke City Double Dog. Today is the 6th of February 2021, and I am in Black River Falls, Wisconsin. We're finishing up a 34 over here. We're in the middle of a load, but we are taking a 34. This delivers on Monday in Cleveland, Ohio, and then we're going to pick up a load not too far from there and run it down to Tennessee, where we're going to get some primary maintenance done, or preventative maintenance done on land here. Just a couple things. It is cold outside, and by cold I mean really cold. Now, the temperature, and I'm not talking about the wind chill, but the temperature right now in Black River Falls, Wisconsin is minus 6 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's going down to minus 11 degrees Fahrenheit tonight, and a wind chill of minus 33 degrees. So we're going to be idling this truck all night long to keep warm, because the bunk heater's not going to keep up with it. It just won't. So we're going to do our best to see what we can do as far as that. But it's trying. The bunk heater's trying, and I shut off the truck so you didn't hear all the noise while we're doing this video. So anyway, I've got a list of some questions that people have asked, and I'm going to go through a few of them real quick and see what I can answer. Now, all these answers are as far as I know, okay? And I'll give you the best answer that I know. If I don't know, then I could try to find out. If you ask me a question or whatever, I'll try my best to find out. But I'm just going to give you what I know, or what it, if I'm talking about something with Stevens, it's what it was when I left there, and but the numbers are so far as I know. So people were asking about miles per week. That's the first question. With Crete, I'm running somewhere between 3,000 and 3,500 miles a week. It just depends, but pretty easy to get northward of 3,000 miles here with Crete. If you're willing to just keep moving, even if you're running just 8 or 9 hours a day and running on recaps, you should be able to crank out 500 miles a day, and 500 times 7 is 3,500. So, you can get there with just a little bit of work and a little bit of diligence, and working with your asset manager and then working with the planners and everything to get you where you need to go. With Stevens, it wasn't quite that much. I'd say you're averaging about 2,200 to about 2,700 miles. There were some weeks I had more than 3,000, but on the reefer side, there is a lot of waiting. You get fewer miles because there's more waiting. Now, plus the one thing I would say with Stevens is they're not quite as good as Crete is with making sure that you've got a pre-plan already in place once you deliver. They're usually fairly quick with getting you a load after you're empty, but that's not always the case. And like I said, there's a lot of downtime with bumping docks, loading, unloading. Even if you're getting preloaded trailers, usually you're sitting and waiting in the meat patch or something like that. So there's a lot of waiting. Now, if you come to Crete Carrier Corporation and you decide to go to the reefer division, which is Shaffer Trucking, you're going to have some of that wait time as well. But one of the things that Crete Carrier does and Shaffer does is that they pay a little bit more per mile to sort of try to make up for that, for the fewer miles you're going to run. So they try to make it so relatively, that Shaffer drivers and Crete drivers are making essentially the same amount per week. Maybe not running the same amount of miles, but making about the same amount, or at least pretty close. So somebody asked me on age of the trucks. I've got a 2020 Freightliner Cascadia. Most of the people that went through orientation when I did, I don't know anybody who got a truck older than the 2019. There are a few 2018s still out there. There are some 2021s out there. So not that old, and not that bad of mileage. Oops. Anyway, so that was my Alexa over here powering down. Anyway, so I know with Stevens, Emily Rose was a 2020 Kenworth T680, but I also know I've seen some older trucks with Stevens out on the road lately. Some 14,000 series, which would be probably 2017 models, 2017, 2018 models, somewhere around there. So getting that a little bit older, but that doesn't mean they have a ton of mileage. I know Stevens likes to try to sell their trucks at about 350,000 miles, 400,000 miles. You know, so it just depends. But that's about it. I mean, the equipment in both places is pretty good, and it's pretty new, and it's kept really well. You don't get into a truck and go, oh man, this thing's horrible. Usually they got them nice and clean and everything. Home time policy. So with Crete, you earn 1 day of home time for every 6 days that you're out, and with Stevens, it's 1 day for every 7 days you're out. Now, with Crete, you can accumulate as many days as you want by staying out. The one thing is, when you take your home time, you've got to take all of it, or you lose whatever you don't take. If you decide to come off the road early, off a home time to get on the road early or whatever. With Stevens, the most you used to be able to accumulate was 5 days, and that was it. So anything that if you stayed out, like some of us stayed out for like 2-3 months when this stuff first hit to try to help out, we still only got 5 days instead of getting 12 days or 10 days or whatever. So just to let you know, and both places you can take your home time wherever you want. You just need to give them plenty of notice about where you want it. Like for me, I like to take it and see friends, see family, different places, go visit places I hadn't been. I like stuff like that. So it's pretty good. And both places make you have to have a place to secure your truck, or at least where they know that things are going to be taken care of. Steven's a little bit more of a stickler about it. If you're a company guy, they've got a list of places. Crete, so far they just want to know where their equipment is and that it's going to be okay. So how long do you stay out? With Crete, it depends. If you're running dedicated and something like that, you might be home every weekend, or it's possible. For me, I'm an over-the-road 48 state unrestricted. Usually they talk about being out 26 to 28 days before you go home. I recommend, if you're going to do that and you're going to run this, stay out 30 days. And the reason why is because that way you get that extra day at home, that 5 days instead of 4. Because if you run 28 days, if you're out 28 days, you're going to get 4 days at home. If you run 30 days, you're going to get 5 days. So the extra 2 days will get you an extra day at home. So that's usually worth it. One other thing about home time with Stevens, if you drove at all that particular day to get home, it didn't matter, whatever, that didn't count as a day of home time. With Crete, if you shut down at home for your home time before noon, that day counts. If it's after, it doesn't count. So I usually try to make sure that I shut down after noon for that. People ask me about, they read negative comments about both companies and stuff like that. I would say don't, be careful reacting whatever company it is, just to negative comments. That's not a great thing to do, because people sometimes they have a bone to pick, or they're not telling you the whole story. Try to find out details if you're listening to something like that. Somebody just saying, "Oh, that's the worst company in the world," and they always, they always mess with their drivers, or they don't care about their drivers, or whatever. Usually, that's not the case. These companies wouldn't have been in business this long, and if they didn't care about drivers to some extent. Some maybe more than others. I think Crete's more of a driver-centered company. Stevens cares about their drivers, but I don't think they're quite as driver-centered. I think Stevens is a really good training company, but and to get your feet wet, and then come to come in like Crete after you get about a year's experience, and come run out here, make a little bit more money, and get a little bit more freedom. So I think those couple things, those are out there, but talk to people who actually drive for the companies currently, not that have left. Talk to people that are driving currently. That's what I did. I made a point of that before I went to Stevens. I talked to people. I went to a truck stop and I talked to people who drove Stevens trucks. And I asked, and I did my research, and stuff like that. And as I started to think about leaving Stevens, I started talking to Crete and Shaffer drivers, and that really made my decision. It helped make my decision to come in here. Somebody asked me about favorite truck. I talked about that a few days ago. I'm really liking my Freightliner. I mean, I enjoyed driving a Peterbilt when I was with my trainer. Made some strange, had a strange clicking noise sometimes going up hills. But that kind of thing, and the wheelbase was a little bit long to get into some of the places that you usually need to, or that we needed to get into. It made it a little bit more difficult. I loved the Kenworth, the T680. Emily Rose, she was a beautiful truck and ran great. But I'm just liking the room in this Freightliner a lot. Oh, Bland, she's a beauty, and I really like her. Stevens training. Once you get your CDL, if you go to Stevens, you're going to be out on the road with a trainer for. You have to do 240 hours. I think that's still the same thing. You need to do 3 mountains, one of which needs to be west of the Rocky Mountains, and you also need to bump a dock in the Northeast. So that hasn't really changed. You also have to do some coursework and stuff when you're on your trainer's truck. One of the things about training with Stevens is make sure that you learn all the things about that you need to know once you get out there with on your own. How to do. It's amazing to me how many people with Stevens, they didn't know how to do a repower. They didn't even know what a repower really was, and the process to deal with it on the Qualcomm. They didn't know, how to fill out their paperwork. They didn't know how to scale their load, all that kind of stuff. So make sure that your trainer's helping you and teaching you to do that, because you can't survive out here without knowing how to do that. You can't get paid if you don't know how to do the paperwork either. With Crete, the training, it's you have different trainings at different times. It's not really a training company. They expect to have good drivers who know what they're doing, and sometimes there's some training and seasonally and stuff like that, but it's not really an entry-level company. So pay at Crete versus Stevens right now. I think Stevens, I read, they bumped their pay to 40 cents per mile for everybody to start. That's 4 cents more a mile than when I was there. Crete have bumped their pay now 3 times in the last year. 54 cents a mile is starting, and you can earn pay raises, every year. But one thing about Crete, Shaffer, they and Hunt Transportation, which is our flatbed division, you can get safety bonuses, quarterly safety bonuses, which you couldn't get with. There was no kind of thing like that with Stevens. You also get paid vacation and stuff like that after you've been with each company for a while. So, but the bonuses can come in handy. I think the quarterly bonus in first quarter in Crete is going to be 4 cents per mile if you're eligible for it. So they take all the miles you ran in the first quarter, and there's a minimum amount of miles you have to run, and there's some other stuff that you have to do in order to be eligible for that. But they take the total amount of miles you ran for that quarter, they multiply it by, in this case, it's going to be 4 cents a mile. Usually it's 3. First quarter is going to be 4. Let's say you run the minimum, I think is 30,000 miles you have to run to be eligible for it in the quarter. Let's say you run just the 30,000 miles times 4 cents. That's $1,200. That's a pretty decent little bonus there at the end of the quarter, and you can do that 4 times in a year. That adds up pretty quickly there. So, and also Stevens, they pay depending on how you go. And we're talking company. I'm not really talking about alliance and contracting, because I don't know that much about contracting with Crete. I haven't really. It's just not something I'm interested in, and it's amazing to me how many people I talked who have done a whole career as a company here at Crete, and they love it. So that's sort of my plan. Pay's going to be different at Alliance at Stevens. I think it was a dollar. It was $1 a mile plus your fuel surcharge if you were loaded, and all sorts of stuff like that. But then they start pulling stuff out of there and whatever. So you'll have to get with them. And I've done videos on Alliance and stuff like that, and you can check those out. My view on it or whatever. Just but make sure before they talk you into going to Alliance, if you go with Stevens, that you look at that and you talk to some other people and who've been and see about that, because I know for some people it's really good, but for a lot of people it's hard to make money doing that. Pre-plans and loads. Stevens, you're running almost all refrigerated. Almost all refrigerated. A lot of meat, a lot of produce, that kind of stuff. You run chocolate a lot, things like that. You do run a few dry things. Here, Crete, we're doing dry van, but we're running food and stuff like that, but there's nothing that's really refrigerated. Of course, if you go to Shaffer, then you're talking about more refrigerated stuff. Heavier loads here tend to be the load itself tends to be heavier here at Crete than with Stevens, and part of that is the nature of the trailer itself. Reefer trailers are a lot heavier, and that kind of stuff. When I was with Stevens, you get 38,000 pounds, and you're going to be pretty much at the limit, depending on what you weigh it and everything like that. I haul 46,000 pounds, and I just need to make sure it's balanced. It still ends up being legal, so it's a whole different kind of thing. Pre-plans, I've been really lucky, and most people I know with Crete are like this. I usually have a pre-plan when I pick up a load. When I pick up when I pick up my next load, almost always I'll have the pre-plan for the next one within 24 hours, sometimes within 24 minutes after sending in my loaded. So that's always nice. Stevens used to take a little bit longer. You sort of had to harass them a little bit and go, hey, start looking for something for me, if you would, and your driver manager needed to be on the ball with that. Luckily, mine always were, but I could be sitting at a shipper for a while going, okay, where am I going next, and waiting, and hopefully if they made me move, I was going to move someplace in the direction I ultimately had to go. Crete, almost always I know exactly where I'm going afterwards, so that's always a help. Dispatches, again, same kind of thing, you can get dispatched wherever, and it just depends on. I want to say sort of the one of the things that I didn't like very very much about was waiting for certain things to happen. Like even if I had a pre-plan and I accepted it with Stevens and everything, once you finished and you sent your empty call on at the Qualcomm for Stevens, before you could even get any of the information or do whatever, you had to be dispatched on your next load. And that was usually something somebody had to physically do. So if they weren't watching your load or whatever, or paying attention, sometimes you'd have to call in or send a call going, hey, can somebody please dispatch me on this so I can start my planning, so I can figure out what I'm going to do. So then you finally get all your information about where you're going and all that, and your fuel stops and everything like that. And then then you can start planning. Here, one of the things that I like is that once I have my pre-plan, even if I'm under a load already, I can ask them and they'll send me the addresses so I can at least start my planning. The only thing I really can't plan is my fuel stops until they send them to me. But I don't know if it's automated, but it sure seems like it's automated. As soon as I send my empty call, if you've already accepted a pre-plan, you're gonna get seven messages right after that with all the info you need for your next load. So it's not a lot of waiting. GPS and ELDs. We don't have company GPSs here at Crete. We do use PeopleNet. That gives you all the information and communication and tracks everything. Stevens has onboard GPSs in their Qualcomms, and the Qualcomm is used for all that as well. I haven't decided exactly which I like more. I like PeopleNet for some things, and I like Qualcomm for a few other things. So, but that's sort of what you have. Fuel stops, and again, we're talking company. Both companies, both Stevens and Crete, they they'll give you fuel stops, and they'll expect for you to abide by them and to fuel what they tell you to fuel. Now, you can get talked to and everything here at Crete, but you're usually not going to get charged back. But if you violate that too much, your driver rating is going to go down, and that can cause you an issue when it comes to your bonuses. With Stevens, they do provide a monthly fuel bonus. That's the only kind of bonus that you really can get with company, and it's usually not a whole lot, and it's really hard to move up on that. Usually, if you get it, it's usually about $90 a month. It's something, but it's not a whole lot. But they expect for you again to fuel where they tell you to fuel. So that's just the nature of it. If your alliance or you have you're an owner operator with Crete, you get to fuel wherever you want. But then you're starting to track what your fuel costs are and try to find the best deals. So it's some work once you get there. How long do you stay out? With Stevens, you needed to stay out at least 21 days, and then you can go home for 3. You can stay out for more and earn a few more days off. But again, once you got to 5 days, or once you were out for 5 weeks, you weren't gaining any more home time, so you might as well try to get home. With Crete, they try to keep you out for 28 days. If you're an over the road, they try to keep you out that long. Tell you just stay out for 30 days so you can get that extra day off. But that's it. If you're dedicated, it's a little bit different, and you'll have to really talk to recruiting about that, because I know the different dedicated fleets have different sort of rules about that. Length of haul. See, this is a little bit of a different kind of thing, and this is comparing a little bit of apples and oranges here, because length of haul for Stevens could be anywhere from, you could have, if you were helping with repowers and stuff, you could have a 100, 120 mile haul and get paid short load pay, but it wasn't guaranteed you were going to get it. You had to sort of push for it, and then they'd sort of offer you something, and then you can decide with and then a lot of their hauls were 1,000 miles, 1,500. I had some 22, 23, 2,400 mile runs. I had one that went coast to coast, but you don't tend to get a lot of those, and there's a lot of live loads and unloads on those, so it's really precise, and there's not a lot of downtime or anything like that. And you're usually running, like, again, you're going back to you may have 1,200 miles or 2,200 miles or whatever. You might get a couple of 1,200 miles in a week and run those, but you're only getting 2,500 miles in a week, so it doesn't help that they're longer. with Crete here, most of my loads have been somewhere between 550 and 800 miles. I've had some that have been in the thousands. This current load I'm on is a 2,400 mile load. The one thing about the shorter hauls on there, though, that I will tell you is because they always have a load backing it up, there's no downtime. So even though they're shorter, you're still running more miles, and you're not wasting a lot of time bumping docks. I would say, 1 out of every 6 loads I have has almost always a live unload, sometimes a live load, but almost maybe 1 out of 6, maybe it's not even that many, but so I'm not wasting a lot of time at shippers and receivers like I did with Stevens. Bad weather, shutting it down, that's totally up to you. Both companies are really into safety. If you decide that the weather's that bad that you can't run, whether it's wind, whether it's ice, whether it's whatever, I've shut down because of rain where the windshield wipers just couldn't keep up with it. Shut down because of wind and stuff like that. Both of them will tell you you get to choose. It's up to you. It's 100% up to you whether you want to, you make that decision. Now, I know at Stevens they tried a couple times going, are you sure that you need to shut down? And if you said yeah, then you'd have, you'd have your driver manager or operations go, yeah, we really need to get it there on time. And you would say, okay, well, let me call safety and see what they say. And usually they'd back off then, because safety's going to tell you shut it down if you think you need to shut it down, and nobody's going to turn around and then start to harass you about that. But they'll try to get you to run. Here with Crete, same kind of thing, where you're the master of this ship, and if you decide you need to shut down for whatever reason, whether it's bad weather, wind, snow, rain, ice, because you're fatigued or whatever like that, they just want to know what's going on so that they can get with the receiver or the shipper and let them know what's going on. So they want you to do that. Now, you can't abuse it, but one of the things that they said higher up here at Crete is that nobody at corporate is going to second guess your decision to shut down based on safety. Nobody. So you know that, where it's going as far as that, and you can figure it out from there. Last thing that was on my list was about chains. Somebody asked me about chains, tire chains. Both companies require you to carry them because that's the law in many states we run through, that you have to have them on there. Neither company requires you to use them. In fact, with Stevens, you're prohibited from using them unless you're certified on what's called the chain gang to run with chains. You can run with chains if you want to with Crete or whatever, but it's totally up to you. My personal viewpoint, if it's bad enough for you to have to put chains on your truck, it's bad enough for you to not be on the road. So that's sort of my kind of thing. So anyway, those are some of the questions. You have some other ones, send them in to me. I appreciate it. You can send them on the comments below, or you can email me at dukecitydevilDog@gmail.com. That's all one word, Duke City Devil Dog. Okay, somebody asked me, what does that mean, Duke City Devil Dog? By the way, Duke City is Albuquerque. That's always been the Duke City. And Devil Dog refers to Marine Corps, so that's sort of where mine comes from, and being a Marine Corps veteran. So, Semper Fi. Last thing is, if you haven't subscribed, or last two things, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel. Hit the bell icon below if to be notified when I post, and give me a thumbs up if you like my videos. We got over 200 subscribers. Thank you, I appreciate that. Let's go for 300. See if we can build it. By the end of the year, I'd like to get 1,000 subscribers. I think that would be great. So if you guys can help me out, if you can share them, I really appreciate it. That'd be great. One other thing, if you're thinking about coming to Crete, my information is down below. If you haven't talked to anybody at recruiting, or nobody's referred you, please give them my name and my driver code. I really appreciate that. I'm not going to say that I don't get anything for it. I do, and I appreciate you helping me out. But if you do that for me, I've started a thing where if you properly give my information, and I get credit for your referral, and you go through orientation and you get assigned a truck and you're out on the road for at least 60 days with Crete, Shaffer, or Hunt transport, and you meet those criteria, I'm going to go ahead and send you, at the end of those 60 days, I'm going to send you a Bluetooth trucker headset, just to thank you for helping me out. I think, if I get some out of it, you should get some out of it too. So, and we can talk about that. If you already have a headset, we'll figure something out. But anyway, I appreciate it, and I hope you guys stay safe, stay warm, because it's going to be a cold one. It's cold over here, probably cold where you're at, and take care of yourself. And we will talk to you soon. This is Rick, also known as Duke City Devil Dog. I am in Black River Falls, Wisconsin, freezing. And I'm driving for Crete Carrier Corporation. I'm psyched. You guys have a great one. We will talk to you a little bit later.